And we are live. Hey guys, welcome back to the vlog. Man, this year has been a really crazy time. Lots of things happen. I hope you guys are doing well and being safe. I just realized that I have released over 200 vlogs. 200 vlogs, guys. Wow, that is a huge achievement. I am giving myself a pat on the back. Can't believe I've been doing it since like 3-4 years ago and still going. So the purpose of this vlog is I realized not many of you guys know much about myself. Maybe because I seem to be a private person who don't tell much. Maybe it's time to share more about my background or my story to give you guys a little bit more context on who I am, especially for those who are tuning in for the first time. Make sure you give a thumbs up and also subscribe if you like it because it means so much to me. Getting myself ready. Gonna enjoy this story time now. So let's go all the way back to who I am and my childhood. So I'm the youngest son out of 3 siblings. I have 2 older sisters. And we have been living in this house in Malaysia for my whole life. I literally stayed here my entire life since 1995. I really like the neighborhood where I lived in. I literally went to the kindergarten, primary school, high school, and uni all within this suburb. And it has been a really close-knit time. Life in Malaysia is pretty nostalgic, maybe because we kind of lived through a life of semi-luxury, semi-hardship since Malaysia is still a developing nation. Both my sisters and I were practically raised by mates because my mom and dad were busy working. They would come back at maybe 7 or 8 and leave early in the mornings. The first meal I had when I was 5, and after that another one that came, which is still around to now. I love her so much. She's almost like family. She is really caring and takes care of literally everything in the house. She taught me a lot of things such as like cooking and cleaning, so that was the life skill I learned when I went overseas to study. I learned the electone when I was 9 years old. It's this instrument which looks like a double piano or a double keyboard with foot pedals. That was because there was an old electone in my house which my mom apparently used to play. And when I was growing up, she asked me, what do I feel like learning? Is it piano or is it guitar? I thought, why not just learn an instrument that's in our own house? So I went to music lessons at age 9 and continued for about 7 years. Can you imagine? 7 years of formal organ learning till I was 16. We bought another organ to replace the old one, and eventually we sold it off when I came back from Melbourne because no one seems to use it. For myself, I felt that maybe learning the organ is a very good instrument, but perhaps it would have been nice if I also learned the piano at the same time because they are both quite similar, but yet the piano is a much more difficult instrument and trains more of your fingers. That was my regret, that I wished I learned the piano. The only sport I learned is actually badminton and swimming. I'm not really a good swimmer. My mom sent me to lessons when I was probably 7 or 8. Badminton too, I'm just a novice, although I do enjoy playing it with my friends every here and then. It's one of the most, easiest sport to get into, especially Malaysia where there's so many badminton courts around. But honestly guys, my skills is so bad, it sucks. Like, I wouldn't even want to try competing with anyone in badminton. Growing up, I think it was quite perhaps a stressful time as a child because education, you know how Asian parents expect you to get good grades and A's. So that was kind of a big stress on probably most children, including myself, where you had to perform well, get good position in class and school. Although my dad was pretty lenient about it, he didn't really harp too much on getting these good grades. My mom would ask me to write down all my grades that I obtained and paste it on the refrigerator so that she can compare each semester's grade and where I would improve and drop. That was how she could actually monitor our grades and kind of make me feel a little bit anxious every time I bring the report card back. Life of an Asian. My favorite color is blue, particularly royal blue. I think it's a very nice shade. It's really vibrant and not too garish like cyan. I don't have any pets in the house. My mom forbade any kind of furry animals. The last time we had any kind of living thing, it was a rabbit which my sister owned, but we had to give it away because it was becoming a bit too troublesome and aggressive. Last time I used to have a fish, and while I was cleaning the tank, I accidentally poured it down the drain in the toilet. So bye-bye fish. That was the last time I ever owned a pet. I don't think I'll be physically able to maintain one since I'm busy working now and managing life. So probably won't get any pets in the near time future. Although I do think that a corgi is super adorable and cute. as well as penguins, but I don't think I can keep a penguin here in Malaysia. I think the main thing that most children kind of dread is going into the school life of primary school and high school. I remember I didn't really enjoy both primary and high school because I didn't have much friends, although there were many people physically around me. But somehow I never had much close connections with most of them. It's kind of like a hi-bye thing, and we only talk to each other because of maybe projects or gossip, little things like that. I used to walk through the hallways by myself, and it was a pretty lonesome time in high school where you just didn't feel like you had much belonging or much rooted groups of people who kind of click with you. I remember when I was probably in 8 or 9, I had a very close friend and we were really like inseparable. But around age 9, his family had to move away. So that was the first time I ever felt a friend going away from my life. It was pretty, I wouldn't say traumatic, but kind of like shocking as a child to see a good friend move away. And eventually I did meet him back, but he totally had a different life now. That was where I wrote the inspiration for the song Days with Old Friends in my album, which you can check it out. It's pretty nostalgic. I was not really that sociable in high school, and I think my mom kind of realized that, so she sent me to this motivational camp called Super Camp. It's this kind of like American system of motivating children to become better, encourage them to do public speaking. And after that camp, which lasted about 7 days, it was a really nice, extremely fun place. I really recommend people to go there. I had this sense of epiphany that if I didn't make myself more outgoing and make the initiative to be outspoken, I would be stuck forever being like antisocial and not have many friends around me. Like I had to make the choice of, do I actually want to be better and improve myself constantly, because if I'm not going to do it, no one's going to help me. So probably age 14 is when I had the epiphany to just change myself to be better, which is what you're seeing now, the product of that camp. I'm quite, I would say, livelier. Maybe you be the judge of that. One of the hardest things I think most children face when they reach high school or after high school is what they wanted to be, their aspirations. I think from a young age, I kind of had this inquisitive mind to explore stuff. I was not that kind of person that liked to stick to repetitive stuff. And initially when I was young, I thought I would want to be a doctor, a pilot, you know, all these kind of ambitious things. And eventually as I grew older, I realized that maybe they are not as what I imagined in terms of being fun. But then again, no job is really that fun. I forgot to mention that when I was also young, my mom sent me to art school to do lots of drawing and coloring, explorations in creativity. So maybe that's why my mind was sort of skewed towards the creative side, even though I went to the science subjects in high school. But eventually I did choose the creative sides because the science subjects were getting a bit dry for me. So in the arts field, I thought initially my first choice was to be a fashion designer, because I kind of liked how all those avant-garde designers do those really elaborate, beautiful dresses, and it was just an explosion of creativity. The amount of things you see, especially in Project Runway, fantastic. Or my second choice was to be maybe a fine artist, where you would have canvases to kind of paint out all your imagination and just express yourself. But sadly, I think my parents didn't want me to choose that path because it was not a very lucrative area, especially in Malaysia. I think being a fashion designer or a fine artist might not be very economical. So I thought to myself, okay, fine, the nearest arts field career I would go to is graphic design, because it is a relatively modern and a commercial aspect. So yeah, I just went with it and totally blew off all my science background, which I did in college. It was a real 180 degrees going from science college to design degree in uni. And then I realized that, okay, in graphic design degree, it was also not that easy because I wasn't used to being challenged in design. All the time I was always referring to books and books, especially memorizing. And now for the first time, I had to use my brain to explore creativity concepts, which is something I wasn't used to. I don't think most people knew why I actually chose Australia to study instead of other countries like America or England or maybe Europe. Instead, I chose Melbourne. There were a few reasons for that. One, my sister actually did study in Melbourne, so I would go to her uni, kind of follow in her footsteps. So it was much easier and familiar since my family knew that uni. Second was, I did apply to UK, but they kind of wanted me to study a longer period and pay more money without any scholarship, whereas Melbourne did offer me a tiny scholarship. So that was kind of like an incentive factor. Although I would have always imagined my life, oh, what would life be in the great London? You know, a very glamorous, elegant life of the cosmopolitan area. Sort of like a parallel world where I always thought, maybe if I did study back in the UK, would I be doing what I'm doing now? Can't predict actually. In Australia itself, yeah, I think I did talk about this subject many times in my previous videos about how I really felt when I was there. I started vlogging there. It was like a fish out of water for me because, to put it bluntly, I was like an Asian in this Western country that was also full of Asians, but there are different kinds of Asians. So it was hard to mix in, and I did not really feel like I kind of belonged there at the moment. So that was when I started to play the piano more seriously, and I bought a keyboard because I was really like kind of itching to play something. I bought a somewhat cheap digital piano and really focused on composing songs seriously. I actually did write my first song when I was 16. So in Melbourne, it was more like I was more focused and dedicated to writing more. And my first album I wrote was this one, the Emotions album. This is something that most people don't actually know. But when I was there in Melbourne and was writing this album, I was not really feeling that particularly positive. You know, I was a bit missing home and a bit lonely and depressed. So I could not actually express myself in words to people. You know, when you tell them, oh, I'm not really feeling that positive, they'll be like, what do you mean? In my mind, if people don't understand me when I say it in words, why not they understand me through music? Which is why this whole album of Emotions is literally an expression of depression and sort of like a cry for help in a way. So whoever has listened to this song on my other channel, you can kind of get the gist of what the whole album is like and how I really felt. I really do think that my music that I write depicts seasons in my life where maybe this season I'm happy, this season I'm nostalgic, this season I'm sad. And it's much more easier for people to understand how I feel through music than telling them, because I think music speaks another language which is easier in the mind to kind of comprehend. Oh man, I am thirsty. Starting vlogging has got to be one of the best things I've ever started, because I did not imagine myself to put my whole life on camera. Initially, I think my parents were a bit hesitant, you know, like, oh, all this privacy stuff, you know, I should not be too outgoing or revealing in terms of like what I'm doing. But I think mostly I wanted to kind of document my life, basically like my whole life journey, so that everyone who is on the same boat can relate, or even those who are not on the same boat can just understand what's going on. And also as like a visual diary for me to remember in case I get Alzheimer's or dementia when I grow older. I have this sort of evidence to look back on. Do I regret vlogging? Absolutely not. I honestly think that whoever has an inkling of trying it out, just do it, because you have nothing to lose. In fact, you are doing more of a service to people because your story can help someone who is looking for something that they might not even know they wanted to find it. One thing that I feel that after vlogging for so long is I'm still a bit shy of recording myself in public. Like if I'm on the street and I'm by myself with many people around me and holding the camera in front, it's still a little bit nerve-wracking and difficult, because I can't help but imagine people staring at me weirdly like some weirdo recording myself. Although I'm fine taking a selfie and talking to a phone like FaceTiming someone, but recording myself with a camera in front is really hard. So probably this is something that most people should not get too hung up on, and just do it, because if you're not gonna do it, you will never get to it. I think, like I said, I did not really imagine myself to come this far since I started in 2017 in October. 3 to 4 years. I'm really proud of what I have achieved, and despite, you know, maybe not getting the best number of views or subscribers, I do really love what I'm doing. And thank you guys so much for watching. You know, it really means a lot to me. There are people who are invested in seeing me grow in my journey. It's really like time capsule. And lastly, how do I feel now? The current state I am in 2020. I do think that I am really proud of myself for what I have achieved. As of now, I'm a graphic designer, vlogger, and composer. Quite enough on my plate. And what I have made so far, the amount of designs I've produced, 200 vlogs, 50 songs I've composed. Really an awesome work in progress that I am grateful that I put the time in to invest, and even more grateful for people who enjoy it, because at the end of the day, I do want you guys to kind of connect to what I'm making. Otherwise, there's no point being a content creator in this sense. However, there are also things in my life as of now that I regret because I have not achieved it. You know, like just like any other person, you set goals, but when you don't get it, do you feel down and depressed? For myself, yes, I do feel a bit down. Recently, I've been trying so hard to put my music that I composed and recorded onto Spotify, because I really want it to be kind of distributed nicely in an audio platform instead of just YouTube. However, it's been really difficult because it's hard to put it out there, and distributors sometimes don't want to help you, or they don't want to put it on for their own reasons. So being rejected many times can get a little bit discouraging, especially when I've been hoping so much for my music to be on Spotify. But I hope one day eventually it will. I believe that my music is something I work so hard on, and people should get the chance to hear it and let their minds be transported to another place when they hear it. So yeah, that's one of the main things that probably I'm not that super happy about this year or currently. But I do know that other aspects of my life is a work in progress too. Whether I will achieve it or not really soon depends, but you know, the more we try, I'm sure that things will work out in a way. All we need is probably our best effort and a bit of blessing and luck to kind of push it to make it happen. Come to learn that life is just not as easy as we think. It's not predictable. It's also not linear, whereby it does not have a magic formula that goes in one direction. It kind of spins up and down, and it's different for each person too. And don't try to control things too much, because life does not work that way. It has its own mysterious timings. I do know for a fact that I will continue to make more videos when I can, and compose more music also when I'm able to just express out all my inner thoughts right here. So yeah, that's the end of the vlog. I know it's been super long, but I hope this enlightens you about more about myself. I'll probably do a next one about maybe more different sets of questions, and let you guys know more about me. Right, that's all for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!